Hello, our guest today is Amy Clifford, who's running for a seat on the Board of Selectmen in the April 2nd annual town election. Amy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin.
So now we ask the biggest and hardest question of all. Why are you running for Selectmen?
Oh, thanks. Very good question. So I'm running for Selectmen because I think that the Selectmen could use a fresh voice on the Board of Selectmen, and I personally represent the majority of, or I believe anyway, the majority of folks in Milford. So there's only about, less than 20% of the folks in our town actually end up voting. So there's a large majority of folks that don't end up coming to the polls. So I feel as though I'm going to represent, the majority of folks in Milford, and I'll do a good job for them.
Okay. And what are some of the things you hope to accomplish on the Board of Selectmen?
Sure. Well, one of the most important things is I'd like to have more representation by the town in our town government. So I think that many people in our town, and not just in our town, but many people are very focused at politics on the national level. They spend a lot of time and a lot of energy talking about and complaining about politics, but they only do that at the national level. And so what I'd really like to accomplish is get folks who live in Milford to take just a little bit of that energy that they put at the national level and get involved here locally, because their voice actually will make a difference here locally.
But yet there's only 5 races on the April 2nd ballot, and the majority of the seats are uncontested.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's exactly the problem, or opportunity, depending on how you might look at it. So there's not a lot of people that are involved at this time, but there are a lot of people in town that are spending a lot of time thinking about politics and complaining about politics and trying to figure out what they can do about politics. So I hope by my candidacy, I can make an impact here at the local level, and that also, lots of other folks will show up here at the local level. So it's like lead by example.
Right, but traditionally, at least over the last 10, 15 years, the majority of the seats go uncontested, with the exception of things like the school committee, where there are 6 people running for 2 seats.
Yeah. I think that's great, by the way.
Yeah, it's actually, it makes the race so difficult to predict, because especially since some of the people have run before.
Yeah.
And you can, based on their past vote getting, you can project where they might be going, but you still can't project who's going to win.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that I pulled papers almost at like the closing of when you can do that, because I'm just surprised that nobody else is running for Selectmen, because it's.
I'm not this year.
Oh, well, I see the Selectmen, and there's we get one up for renewal every year.
Right.
It's the most important. I believe it's the most important elected position in town. It has a role to do strategy and also make impact. The fact that nobody else has put their name forward, I think is a.
Oh, I think they're all waiting for next year.
Yes, I've heard that.
Because next year there won't be an incumbent running.
Right. Well, I think my calling was to run this year. So yeah.
In my own town of Mendon, I'm notoriously known for running just so there's an opponent.
That's good.
No,
yeah.
Because I believe some seats should not be just. School committee usually in Mendon goes unchallenged, and people just walk in.
I found that.
I believe there should be an opponent, so I typically run.
Nice. Well, I feel as though my candidacy, even just running, even having somebody oppose the incumbent, makes the incumbent and the whole board think differently about how secure their position is, which I think is a really healthy outcome of putting my name forward. But I quite seriously put my name forward because I think I will be a better candidate. I will be a better selectman, and I will represent more of the town on the Board of Selectmen. So I feel as though it's not just to challenge folks or anything like that. It's just that I, in my many different roles, in my role as a lawyer, I can represent the town. I have a strategic vision, and I haven't been caught up in the day-to-day, the small group of folks that have been running the town in sort of a closed manner for so long that they've just forgotten. And it's nothing against anybody. Mike Walsh is obviously a great person, but I just think that you know, it happens to any group that's been in such a small setting for so long, that they just kind of maybe have lost a little track of what is their strategic vision for the town, and what are the areas that they could be working on that they're not.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, what are some of the areas you don't think they're working on that
Traffic.
they should be?
Thank you. So I think one of the biggest areas that I will work on on the Board of Selectmen is traffic. So specifically ingress egress from the town. So the big busy roads, 109 and 16, that intersection. Also did the Dilla Street at rush hour and traffic. Traffic is a major quality of life issue for almost everybody in town.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an important issue. It's one where I hope will generate folks to get out.
I know every back route to get where I'm going in Milford.
Right.
And I will tell you candidly, there are some intersections I avoid at all costs.
Right, and if you don't have to be on the road on 109, 16, in anywhere between like 4 to 6, people will avoid it. And but some people can't. They just work, you know, they have to go through there. And so I hope this is an issue. It's a very important issue to me because I think it's a quality of life improvement for every resident in the town. I also think it will drive more people to come to town. But the really important thing is that like this Board of Selectmen literally like raises their hand and says like nothing can be done, and they're just not even working on it.
Well, 16 and 109 are state roads that the town has to go through the state to do things with. And for instance, it's taken 6 years to go up or 7 years to go up the state roads list, but the 16 and 140 interchange will be done sometime in the next year. There's plans to look at 16 from 109 towards Holliston. The state has looked at the 109-16 interchange. What they're going to do with it, who knows? But to me, that's not the to me, some of the bottlenecks are from 16 and 109 to Sacred Heart Church.
Yeah,
that's morning and night, that road is just block solid.
That's a block solid one. Yeah, yeah. So, and I think like that is something the selectmen should be working on.
Well, what would you do? I mean, that's an older part of town where the houses and buildings are. You know, you can't widen the road because the houses and buildings are right there.
Right. Well, and you know, we have traffic studies done, and
right.
I would you know, review those in great detail. I would also look to other experts in traffic. The point is that you can't just, you know, throw your hands up. It's a roadblock in Milford, and
it's a regional issue as well.
Yeah, it's like literally a roadblock. so if the selectmen aren't working on it, nobody is. So I think that is one of the most important things I'm working on. And also transparency in politics is another big issue of mine.
Okay, now one of the selectmen had an argument with me recently. Well, not an argument, discussion, where he said, "How much more transparent can I get when everything we do is televised?"
That's true. Yeah.
So he said, "I don't get the argument we're not transparent because all of our meetings," and he said, "You know, I work a full-time job during the day.
Right.
I'm not on the phone running the town.
Right.
I come to the meeting.
Right.
We discuss things in public. We vote them in public. It's televised live. It's put up on YouTube afterwards. How much more transparent did I need to be?"
That's a good question. I think that what the people in town are having a problem with is some of the executive sessions, the closed door, and some decisions that get made that have no, like the chief of police issue.
But that's required by state law.
Yeah, but
you also
people
can't discuss personnel issues in public.
Yeah, but people feel as though there's something, and I don't know. I'm not saying that there's something shady that went on there, but people are really wondering what are the intentions of the Board of Selectmen, and why are they making some of the decisions that they're making. So. Even though things are televised, it's just not. It's not meeting the. It's not meeting the town's.
But what if they're not allowed by law to tell you? They're already getting sued by the chief for their actions. Mm-hmm. So anything they say in public just feeds the lawsuit.
Right.
So they're not allowed to say anything. I mean, the question is, what do you say? And the chief's also suing that one record did become public, saying it shouldn't have become public.
Right.
So. which is an interesting story in itself because I was the one who applied for it under Freedom of Information Act, and when I got it, people might find this hard to believe, I actually went to the town administrator and the town council and said, "Do you really mean to give me this?" Most reporters would do that. I said, "Are you sure you want me to have that?"
Yeah, I mean, I just think, this is what the town is
No, I
wanting.
agree.
Yeah.
And there's so many rumors. It was interesting. I went to the initial meeting of the Police Chief Search Committee, and they actually had a debate because one member did not want to have the meetings televised.
Right.
And all the others were going, and there's a guy named Ed Bertorelli on there who was one of the town meeting member appointments. And Ed basically said, look, there's so much stuff going on regarding the chief's dismissal right now and with this committee. If we're not out in public, you're going to hear so-and-so said,
Yeah.
so-and-so said.
Yeah.
And then he made a comment that said, this way it's out in the open, and if, nobody can deny who did what when.
Yeah, because people are upset. I mean, people are upset about what we're doing. There's the chief of police issue. There's the water company issue. There's just
the water company issue is winding its way through the court system.
Right, but I think people in this town think we could be doing a little bit better.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the water company reneged on the agreement they had on the purchase and sale they had with the town. So actually, from covering it for a number of years, I don't know what the town tried a stock sale and that didn't work. Maybe they should have tried the asset purchase first, which they are in now, but they, had all intention of proceeding and the water company reneged on signing.
Right.
So they went to the next legal step.
Yeah, and I think, I'd be interested in what you think about this, but I think that, because there's a little bit of a breakdown in trust between many folks, not everyone, but many folks in town and the selectmen,
I think
some of these issues are, are really getting a lot of scrutiny and attention and a lot of emotion that's coming out. And so I think that
I'll take it from the other side because, I work for a newspaper that gets sent to everybody's house twice a month.
Right.
And when people say, well, I don't know anything about it, I'm like, gee, did you read last week's issue?
Right.
Did you read 2 weeks ago's issue? Did you read the July issue a year ago when we printed every single study the town had commissioned or the water company had commissioned? I mean, I'm summarizing 300-page documents filed by each. I mean, for the life of me, I got to tell you, you go to the DPU website and you read the town's appraisers come up with one figure of 40 million, and the water company comes out with 158 million, and they're both using the same appraisal formula. And I just sit there and go, well, but it's out there.
Yeah.
Just put in DPU file room in Google.
Yeah.
And it's 18-160 is the case for the acquisition, and you can read every document.
Right.
Every time something's done, we put it in the paper. I can't answer for the other meeting in town, but we have a summary in the paper. So from my perspective, it's like, sorry people, if you don't bother to educate yourself and read about it, then I always see later, well, how come nobody's talking about this? And I'm like, well, we wrote about it 6 times.
Right, and I think...
so I look at it differently, and I get very jaded, but that's because I've been doing it so long.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm a professional skeptic. Whatever anybody tells me, I doubt.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people, and this was even me at one point when I lived in Milford. I was a single mom, and I had a full-time job, and I was doing a lot. And I just trusted that the elected town officials, had my back. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were trustworthy. And I think that there's, that some of the voices that we're hearing now, they're just payback for, maybe some other incidents earlier where some trust was lost between the Board of Selectmen and the town. And that's why I think, it is a really good time to have a new fresh voice on the board.
I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, it will have
but I do have a question. You had a large number of people coming to the Selectmen's meetings in September and October to protest the decision about the police chief.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any of their names on the ballot. I see one of them is running for town meeting member. I don't see their names on the ballot. I haven't seen them back at meetings. I didn't see them at the police chief search committee meeting, which is a public meeting. So, like I said, I'm jaded, but where are they?
Yeah, you're wondering, where are those people? I hope they show up to vote. because I think we could
They'll
use
they'll
a
probably
fresh.
show up to vote, but the fact of the matter is, democracy is not a spectator sport, it's a contact sport.
Well, it's also very difficult to put your name forward and
Well,
you
you're
know,
doing it.
yeah, I'm doing it, and I'm also subject to, you know, lots of attacks that I should move out of Milford, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't. So it's not that easy to put your name forward. You know, some
But
people.
everybody gets attacked on Facebook.
Yeah, so some people want to.
That's the sport.
Right, I know. And some people want to participate as, you know, as soldiers, and then some people are able to put their name forward. I think
Wow.
that we probably have a lot of people that could serve really well on the Board of Selectmen. I think, you know, I wish there were more people running so we had more choice, because I do think we have fresh voices would be really important for our town at this
Well,
time.
I think what's going to be interesting is Bill Buckley's term is up in a year. He is not running again. Contrary to the Facebook conspiracy, he is not running again. He's definitely leaving. He'll tell you to your face, and I know people don't believe him. You're going to have the people who've wanted the seat for a while but didn't want to challenge him.
Right.
And hopefully you'll have some newcomers.
Right. I think that from what I've heard, a lot of people have said that they're getting ready to run at next year. So,
And
I
then
mean,
the
I'm
year-
not sure why anybody would wait to do anything. Like, I'm called
well,
to, I'm called to be involved now.
Well, because honestly, why would you run against, if you're running over the police chief issue, you wouldn't run against Mike Walsh because he's in favor of keeping the chief.
Well, I mean, I'm not running as a result of
Right.
Chief O'Loughlin. I'm disturbed about how Chief O'Loughlin. I'm disturbed about what happened there, and I don't have all the details, so I can't really speak to that. But it's one of the things that I was disturbed about our Board of Selectmen and how they're handling the town and running it. But I mean, I don't know what everyone else is doing. I'm just putting myself
What are some
forward.
of the other issues you're concerned about? You said traffic,
Yeah.
the water company.
Mm-hmm.
I know at the high school forum you said, you know, the deal could have been done better. So what other issues?
One thing that's important to me that I spoke out on recently and seems to be a really hot button is what we think about immigration in the town.
I think people construed your comments to say that you're very pro illegal. And that's
Right.
why I read the comments on Facebook that were,
Right.
and I saw that yesterday or today you re-explained them.
Right. Yeah, I don't
which
know if
actually did a very good job
Good. Okay.
in that, but I think people jumped to the conclusion,
Yeah.
hence the comment, go live in Cambridge,
Right.
I think was much more that you don't understand what the town has dealt
Right.
with the aftermath of illegal immigration.
Right. And I think that hopefully hopefully people understand my position a little bit better. But it's really interesting how, you know, even just mentioning, you know, the word immigration, people are so ready to get aggressive, depending on where your stance is, and think that you're on.
Most of whom, by the way,
thinking
are
on
the
a-
grandchildren of immigrants who settled this town.
Yeah, no, I know. We are all immigrants. I mean, my family came over on the Mayflower, but I'm still an immigrant. So.
Well, as I tell people, on the Rudden side, I'm sixth generation in America.
Right.
On my mother's side, I'm the second born here.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
my mom was the first born here. I know all about the immigrant experience.
Yeah.
I know how my grandfather, Heineke, got here.
Yeah.
He was dropped off in a ship when he broke his arm.
Right.
He worked on a merchant vessel.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when he broke his arm in a compound fracture, they couldn't set it on the ship, so the next port was Baltimore, and they threw him off and said bye. And he became a very good American citizen out of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, my family, my mom's side originally is traced back to the Mayflower, and then on my dad's side, and the other half of my mom's side, everybody's from Ireland. So
Yeah,
but
immigration is the third rail of Milford politics.
yeah, and we don't. We really need to have a calm discussion about it, because it's a big deal, and just talking about it is all I want to do. I don't think it makes sense for our town leaders to be trying to get involved in legislating immigration. It's a national issue. It's not something that we, like at the town level, we don't have passport control for people to get in and out of Milford. If we were able to like create immigration policy, I might have a bunch of things
well,
to say about it, but
I think it's more the secondary effects. Um, when people hear that almost 50% of the school is English language learner,
mm-hmm.
there's a presumption that those people are illegal. I had the spouse of a longtime town official tell me when Woodland School opened, in her opinion, that we had just spent $100 million to house the illegals.
Oof, yeah.
Now, I know that's not true,
Yeah.
but it's the third rail where we've had overcrowding issues, we've had traffic issues, we had 3 fatalities directly linked to people driving without proper documentation. I myself was in a car accident several years ago where somebody with no license driving an unregistered car stopped dead in front of me. And yes, I rear-ended them, and under the law, that's my responsibility. But quite honestly, we're talking Dilla Street in the morning, and the person just stopped dead because they panicked in the traffic.
Right. Well, I think that we should continue to talk about immigration, and I actually don't think I'm far apart from many of the folks even who are busy attacking me.
I think the comment you made at the high school debate was you thought the selectmen didn't have a heart when they discussed it. Was that the term you used?
No, grace.
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 I don't think people understand what that means.
Right. It means that I've heard Mike in particular speaking about the distinctions between legal and illegal, and as a public elected public official, I want to see my board of selectmen being more careful with how they speak and what terms they use.
But I think most of the people in Milford have no problem with legal immigration.
Yeah.
But there's a perception that when they see certain people walking down the street, there's an automatic perception that those people are illegal.
Yeah, I find some of this discussion to be very ugly, and that it's not useful. There's people who want to just line up all the illegal immigrants and shoot them, and I wonder how can we figure out who's legal and illegal. So it just means like everyone who is of color or speaks a little accent feels like automatically feels unwelcome and concerned, and that actually has downstream negative effects to our town. So I think there's some people who are really interested in identifying illegal immigrants as kind of the problem with this town, and it's just not how it's not how I see the issue at all. But they're loud, and they say it, and if we don't challenge them on those beliefs, we're not gonna have the right kind of conversations. And
well, my answer would be, isn't that part of the national dialogue?
yes, thank
And
you.
how we discuss things is
Thank
coming
you.
from the top in Washington right down?
Well, I mean, hopefully, if
No one has
everybody
civil
gets involved,
discussions anymore.
yeah, if everyone gets involved at the local level, we can move things up. And I'm a firm believer in First Amendment, so everyone can say what they want to believe. Everyone can say what they want to. What you say does have some impacts, but if you feel so strongly about immigration, we should be talking to our federal representatives about that. That's who we need to talk about, because they're in charge of immigration policy. In the town of Milford, I'm going to worry about traffic.
Yep.
I'm going to worry about, I'm going to worry about those kinds of things. Like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time creating a policy that I don't have any authority to implement, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the distinctions in our own town between legal and illegal, because I recognize the downstream effects it has that erode some of the benefits that we have of living in this town. So I recognize we have a lot of immigrants here, and that we can address problems that we have with immigration, but it's the quality of life for most people in Milford is going to be impacted if we work on the traffic, and if we stop as elected officials, making these ungraceful distinctions, and also ineffective. So it would be different if it was effective. If it was ugly, and if I don't mind having an ugly discussion if it's going to be effective, but if it's not, then and there's no point, then I just think there's something wrong with somebody who's going to do that.
There's an old saying from town moderators that we can disagree without being disagreeable, and I think that's your point.
That's my point. Thank you. Yeah.
and you got really whacked on Facebook recently.
That's okay. I mean, I expect it if I'm going to put my name out there and folks, don't know me.
Well,
And because the issues are so
Yeah.
hot right now that, they just automatically will see me as an enemy. And I think that, I talk to my family. They're okay with me running. We are ready to take that kind of thing.
You do need a thick skin to run for office.
Yeah. And
for selectmen.
and I
school committee.
believe so. My husband and I were talking about this for a long time. That there's this, there's the right and the left in our country, and if you're over here, that you hate those people, and you're over here. But I actually think that there's like this huge middle part, and most people aren't that far from either end, and so that's why I'm running as an independent. Is because I think part of the issue is the Democratic and the Republican
Right.
parties are people are identifying them with
They're
them
polarized
so
right now.
strongly, but I do think that the majority of folks aren't, if you really talk to them about their beliefs, they're
Yeah.
not so far apart.
That I would agree with.
Yeah.
I actually think most people all want the same things.
Yeah.
But I just think in this town that is a very polarizing issue. But on the other hand, the town has done what it could with the housing task force, the parking restrictions, the requiring any vendor that does business with the town to certify their employees are citizens or properly done, and other measures. So it becomes I think it's just an issue that inflames a lot of people's passions.
It does, and I think that's a reason. Like I don't know if people's passions are inflamed. It's a signal that we need to take a step back and slow down and understand what's going on because all of our objectives are in line.
Right.
And we all want the best for Milford, and nobody. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I believe in a nation of laws, and no one is below or above the law. So.
Well, I also believe part of it is Milford is always an inward-looking town, in my opinion, and a lot of the people you meet, even today's professionals, they haven't really traveled widely in the country. A lot of people I meet, they grew up here. They go to college, they get a job, they talk about how nice it is to return here, but they haven't traveled extensively in the country. The immigration issues Milford faces are all across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a son living in California for 2 years who I would go out and visit. You think you got problems here? Go to California, to the border area. So I think people need to realize, like the opioid crisis, it is a national issue that needs to be addressed. Some things nationally, some things locally.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, we've got a few seconds left. Sum up for the voters why you'd like them to vote for you.
Yeah, so please vote for me because I am a fresh voice on the Board of Selectmen and I'm a trustworthy shepherd who make decisions for the majority of town. Even if you're not tuned in, you're not paying attention. So please vote on April 2nd. Let's see, I have a goal to get 500 more votes in this election than we had in the last. So I hope you vote.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
We're done, Morgan. Thank you. And we just have to unhook ourselves so we do it.